And we are live.
Come.
It's been
It's been nice talking to you all. Good night.
Good night, everyone.
That's the show, everybody.
Have you ever heard the song "Butterfly" by Crazy Town? Sorry about that question mark at the end of that. I'm not sure if it's Crazy Town. Where it's all like, "Come, my lady, come, my lady, you're my butterfly, sugar." Anyway, I'm not even making this up. Whenever I hear the word "come," and this is a really weird association to have, I think of that song, not of "come." So if I hear the word "come" as in reference to semen, I'll be like, "Butterfly."
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm like,
Terrence apparently knows who you're talking about and says yes.
yeah, new metal band. Yeah. Fun fact, if I'm not mistaken, I think the guitarist from that band, like one of the main people in the band, is like this big ass music producer now. He probably was then too. But yeah, I think that was like his side project. Like, I'm gonna write one hit song and then like basically secretly write and produce every other hit song you hear for the next 20 years. But anyways.
Works, right?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it's Ultra Podcast Z. It's Hao-lloween. It's the creepy month. It's the creepy month of September. I mean, that was not a slip. The creepy month of October. This is rehearsed. Don't worry about it. But yeah, it's funny because we were gonna. This show came together last minute after a couple interesting things. Like, technically, I wasn't going to be on it at all. Neither was Hao. And now here's a show with me and Hao. How weird is that?
How weird indeed.
Oh, speaking of which, I'm Manuel, leader of AJ Connections, and I host her all the time. Nyaru is still on the back of a milk carton somewhere. If you see her, tell her we miss her, to call home sometimes. And so on. Hao, introduce yourself.
I'm Hal. No handles, no nothing, no Twitter, no Instagram, nothing to go follow.
He's a
In fact,
VTuber.
Go unfollow one of your subscribe things that you have had on YouTube since like 2010, who probably now have really concerning content, like in hindsight. Go ahead and go unfollow one of them. That's my recommendation for you.
Dude, I just found out the other day, what's his Tobuscus is like crazy right now. Like, I don't want to go. Just Google what Tobuscus is up to right now in your free time, and you'll be like, man.
Not his songs, by the way. That's not what he means. He's not. He's not going bananas over Diamond Sword song. That's not what we're talking about.
Or whatever that song is. But no, he's just crazy in his own personal life right now. I think he was on Tucker Carlson or some shit like that recently, which is like, whoa. What is that show, by the way, that they're hanging out with Tobuscus? But
Endgame is no longer the most ambitious crossover in history.
Exactly.
Tobuscus and Tucker Carlson.
Anyway, thank you all for watching it. It's spoopy stuff. What are we talking about today, Hal?
We're mostly going to talk about some Halloween stuff, some spooky stuff, maybe some fond memories, maybe some favorite horror flicks to check out during this spookiest month of the year.
Thank you, Hinachi.
Anywhere in particular you kind of want to start?
Oh, he's trading. Hey, what's up? Hey, what's up, Moist guy?
Thank you, Hina.
It's some Moist guy. He's the one that had the cool shirt that were you on the episode that Hina was on? How? I can't remember. She was on
Everything before 2 weeks ago was a blur.
Okay. Too much drugs.
Sure. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
Hell yeah. But yeah, we're talking about Halloween. What are some cool Halloween memories? Anything funny happened to you when you went trick-or-treating?
Yes. Traumatizing things.
Are you serious?
Yes. Are you ready? Buckle up. It's not that traumatizing. I'm hyping this up too much.
Go ahead. I want to hear it.
When I was a very young child, my mother had a friend who was a very talented seamstress, and I could request any stupid asinine thing a child could possibly request for a Halloween costume. Like, it started when I was young, and I was like, I want to be a Power Ranger. You can go buy that at the store, right? Like, that's a normal child thing to want to be at age 6 in 1990, whatever the fuck it was, 7. And later, I would start making outrageous requests. Like, I want to be a Pokemon for Halloween. Not like Pikachu or Charmander. Nothing you could buy at the store. I wanted these like niche bullshit that no one else wanted. So I was like, I want to be a Vulpix for Halloween. And so every adult rightfully was like, I don't know what that is. because that's not Pikachu. And I'm like, yeah, exactly. So I got her like a little picture of it and like a little Pokemon card. I was like, I want to be this. Bless this woman's heart. She made me a fantastic little costume. I had 6 little puffy tails. I had the whole thing going on. I had little mittens that folded over to make me look like I had little paws. Like I was in like miniature furry mode. Like this was like pre when furries had the budget to do the amazing things they do now. And I looked fantastic. And I would go trick-or-treating with this one young girl that was like my mom's friend's daughter or whatever. It doesn't matter. But we would go trick-or-treating together, and every single door that answered was like, oh, what are you girls dressed up as? And I have identified as a man since I was but a wee lad. So I was just like, oh no, is this a gender identity crisis that I'm interacting with? And so I've just never been the same since. And I had to get overly masculine costumes at first, and now I just don't give a shit. I'll dress up as anything. I'll go in full drag if you'll give me candy, I will show up to your house and drag. That's a threat.
I would say that sounds like a threat more so than anything. It's like, how I got a Snickers bar here for you. Like, oh shit, hold on, throw it on that dress.
I'll put on shapewear too. I'll like whole night.
I remember there was one time. I don't think I've ever told this story because I think I told other stories from this night. I had this girlfriend when I was in high school, and she was really, how do I say this? She always thought that there wasn't an age limit for trick or treating, which honestly I'm not gonna lie, I think there is. But I know that
start getting like a lot of facial hair or like
yeah,
you know what I mean.
I mean, just go and buy the candy at that point. Just you could put it in a bucket, eat it at home, watch some horror movies, and have a good time. I do think there is an age limit for trick or treating. I don't know if that's a controversial opinion. If you're gonna do it, I'm not gonna judge you. I'm just saying personally, I think there is. But anyways, I had this girlfriend in high school. She was a little older than me. She was a senior. I was like in 10th grade, and I only mentioned that just to point out the fact that she was like 17. She should know better to like. I mean, I'm like. I think I was too old, and I was like, 15 at the time. And I remember, she's like, "I'm gonna go trick or treating," and I'm like, "Oh, I guess." And like, not go to a party, not do whatever, not underage drinking, but go trick or treating, and convinced a friend of mine to go with us. And we went, and she was some vampire thing, some long gothy looking dress, and yeah,
Miss Vampire 287.
Yeah, it basically was like a vampire girl. I mean, I think that's what she was supposed to be. I don't think she had teeth, but it was clearly what she was going for. It might have been a closet thing. I don't even know if that was like a costume. TLDR, just cut to the chase. We went to this house, and there was like, there was this dude who's like, "Aren't you guys a little older for trick-or-treating?" And me and my friend was trying to like cheer us both up because I did not want to be there. And he's like, yeah, and we would just give us the candy. And the dude was just like kept poking fun at us, and I wouldn't take any candy. I just left, and like, my girlfriend was so mad, and she started walking ahead of us. And I went to go catch up with her, and I stepped on her skirt, and she fell right in front of this house. That when the people were just making fun of us, there were kids. There were other. Well, I guess we were still kids. There were other kids. This fucking dude was still outside with like I think one of his friends or family members, and they all laughed at her. She fucking hated me after that.
Mine feels much less traumatizing in hindsight. Thank you for that.
Yeah. To be fair, I mean, it was mildly traumatizing for me, I think too, but I'm sure it was far more traumatizing for her. And I hate to say this. Because now I feel like a monster now that I'm actually telling this story. She's somebody that I didn't really keep up with after we broke up not too long after that. I don't think it was because I ruined her Hao-lloween. It could have been. But it's funny because so many of my stories are like, oh yeah, so-and-so broke up with me. And I used to always be like, why do all the people break up with me? And I think I started to see a pattern here.
Manuel, it's going to take some long introspection.
Inadvertently despicable things I do.
Yeah.
Because we were definitely not together by the end of that year, but she, I ended up talking. I think I still kind of talk to her now. She's somebody I still know, like a high school friend, like a high school friend on Facebook, that kind of thing. But TLDR, she never went trick or treating again after that. That ended it for her, and I don't know if
You jettisoned her into adulthood.
Exactly. I don't know if it's because like I ruined her night. And honestly, that pretty much we still went around for another like 30 minutes, half an hour, what have you. But we weren't talking to each other. My friend kept trying to like run back because we were like walking apart from each other. Like I didn't go to any more houses myself. She did. And like my friend would go with her sometimes. He would run back and forth, try to get us to like talk to each other, but it wasn't happening. But yeah, I'm like, either I ruined Halloween for her, or maybe that was her like moment when she's like, yeah, maybe I am too old for this. I hope it's the latter, so I don't feel too bad.
Porque no los dos.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was pretty much my only real horrible Halloween. I mean, honestly, I don't think I have many Halloween specific stories. Like I used to go to Carnival a lot, which is this thing in WeHo, and I found out recently I don't think it's happened even before the pandemic. So I guess it's not happening anymore. It was a street fair where they would close down a bunch of streets.
Daniel, I know you're drunk all the time, but Carnival is not around October.
No, it is. Look, Google it. It's WeHo Carnival.
Is it like a local thing?
Yeah, it's for those who don't know, WeHo is West Hollywood, and yeah, West Hollywood Halloween Carnival, Halloween festival, and oh wait, no, it's happening
Right now.
Okay, not right now. Apparently, it is happening in 2022. But yeah, but to be fair, I don't think it happened in 2019 or 2018, which is what I was trying to say earlier. I just Googled it, and there's this news story that says it looks like it is happening. Because the whole thing is that it's because streets are closed off, businesses have to sign up for it, like be like, yeah, we want this, so that all their traffic is foot traffic, and like because nobody could, but then nobody could park in fucking West Hollywood anyway. But yeah, Anyway.
Manuel, we all know Carnival is that thing that happens right before Lent. Come on.
Is that what that is? Is that the other Carnival?
Yeah, that's because it's like goodbye to meat or whatever.
Goodbye to meat.
Yeah, because
meat's back on the menu, boys.
Fasting for Lent.
But yeah, it's funny because when I brought up the trick or treat story, the only reason I mentioned that because we specifically did our very first Halloween episode ever at UPZ was when discussing trick-or-treating and trick-or-treating memories. And I'm like, I wonder if Hao has any memories. And yeah, there we go. I guess you do.
We learned not that many because apparently you can't remember anything past 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. For all we know, this is just like a fake memory that someone just told me, and I've just repeated so many times that I think it's real.
But I'm not gonna lie. I remember I had this other girlfriend who was like who wanted to go I mean, she didn't want to go trick-or-treating per se, but we used to grab one of my nieces or nephews to go trick-or-treating with just to get free candy. So I guess that kind of counts. But that wasn't really.
You're saying you exploited children to get free candy, Manuel?
Yes. That's exactly what I'm not even joking. Like we would go over to my brother or sister's house. I'd be like, "Oh, is so and so free?" It's like, "You want to go trick or treating, right?" Get the youngest one. Just keep saying that, and then eventually, like, "You want candy, right? You want candy."
As your conduit.
Yeah, and then eventually they say, "Yeah, there you go." Just basically kidnap it. Okay, jokingly, I'm not condoning, like kidnap a small child, and there you go. They bring him back when you're. That sounds terrible out of context, but no, I mean,
not sure it sounds much better in context, Manuel.
For candy, all for candy. Oh, that's great. But yeah, and then now they're all too old to be doing that either. So, oops. My fun fact: it's actually one of my nephew's 18th birthday today.
Wow.
Like, yeah, my mom texted me earlier, like, "Oh, you should." I did it because I'm a monster. My mom texted me earlier saying that I should call him because it's his 18th birthday. And I'm like, God damn, he was one of the kids that we could drag off.
I kind of know how you feel, Manuel. I don't have any nieces or nephews technically because I only have my sister and neither of us have kids. Or she doesn't have any kids, I guess. But I have cousins who have kids that are closer to my age than I am to my cousins. And some of them are turning 21.
We're old.
Yes.
How old are your nieces and nephews? Are they 30? Are you old?
I have 0 nieces and nephews. I have 0 cousins with kids. We're a very small family.
Yeah, unfortunately, I have. It's funny because like I mentioned that I have like that nephew who turned 18, but like my sister has a very far apart child who is like I think turning 4 this year or turned 4 this year. I don't talk to her much, but yeah. So my point to bringing that up is like Halloween's coming. I'm like, you want to go trick or treating? You want to go trick? But then again, only whatever. Let's talk about horror movies. What's some other what's some other things that you do that's spoopy?
Like in general, like sort of like activities that I got planned.
Yeah, what are you doing for Halloween? What are you gonna go party? You gonna go drink? You gonna go carnival?
No, but what I am gonna do is I live in Vegley, Pennsylvania area. I say that because there are like 3 distinct sections of Pennsylvania, and it's like all wildly different. Like they might as well be different states. But we are going to a haunted prison in West Virginia, and we are going to stay the night, I believe. I'm not super into the supernatural, but I know everyone I'm going with is, so it's going to be a blast for me. And that's all that really matters.
Bring a camera and record it.
Oh, I'll shaky cam the whole thing. It'll be great.
Oh man, when I was younger, I used to eat that kind of shit up. I'm not so sure I ever believed in supernatural. I think that was fun, and it's still fun. And if I was in that scenario, I would definitely, honestly, I'd be taking the opportunity to spook out my friends more. And then, of course, inevitably, because I am a spooky ass bitch myself, eventually I'd be like, it is kind of quiet here. What's that sound? Is that a demon coming to kill me? And then I'd freak myself out. There've been many a night when, like, I remember, like, when I was younger, and I used to think I was so like badass, like watching all these horror movies, because like AMC would have like, well, not AMC, PC, one of those channels. But one of these channels,
yeah, one of those.
One of these channels still used to be like not proper cable. Like it would still show uncensored versions of movies. I think it was the movie channel, but anyways, doesn't matter. They would have a Halloween block every Halloween that would start like in October, but like as it got closer, it'd be like 24 hours, nothing but movies. And I remember I used to like watch them all, and then like every so often there'd be one that would just fucking like spook the shit out of me. Like at midnight, or I'd wake up and I'm like, oh shit, it's fucking Creature from the Black Lagoon. This never scared me before, but now that I'm watching it at 2 a.m. and it's vaguely dark and I'm hearing spooky noises behind me, I think I'm gonna die.
What's always been like your go-to scariest, like either monster, alien, ghost? What was the scariest thing for you, or even scariest thing for you now?
You want to hear something, and it's funny because everyone can go watch it on Tubi. Yes, we're sponsored by Tubi again. Now there's actually a crazy story about this movie, but we're not gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about why it scares Manuel. There's a movie called Twilight Zone, the movie. And it came out in like 1980 something. It had all these big name directors from the time: Steven Spielberg, Joe Dante, John Landis, who did some fuck shit on that movie, but looked it up on your own time. And I can't remember who else is in it, but it has them 3 for sure, and some like 2 others. And it takes mostly classic Twilight Zone episodes. Like it has that nightmare, the one with the fucking gremlin on the plane and so on, and shit like that.
I'm a sucker for a good gremlin on a plane,
Yeah, it's like that. Kick the can.
Yeah, it's funny because Kick the Can is such a boring one, and that's Steven Spielberg's. And apparently he was gonna do a different one, but he ended up doing Kick the Can because, once again, go look it up on your own. But that movie had such a controversial production cycle that he's like, okay, I'm not gonna do the scary one. I'm gonna do the nostalgic one that like no one likes. But the reason forget all those movies. Forget the fucking Kick the Can. Forget the fucking that kid who wishes you to the fields if you like piss him off.
Oh, It's a Wonderful Life?
Yeah, forget all that bullshit. The movie has a wraparound segment that features Dan Aykroyd.
Like, It's a Good Life.
And it starts with Dan Aykroyd and this dude. I'm sure that dude's another famous cameo guy. I don't know who the fuck he is, though. They're driving in a car, and they're singing songs. And it's the most boring conversation they're ever having. They're just like, guess the song. Dun 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 dun. And they're just doing like shit like that, like over and over. And like, haha, for like 5 minutes. It's so slow. Then out of nowhere, one of them starts doing the Twilight Zone theme. And it's like, oh yeah, you ever seen that show? Yeah, isn't it crazy? Start going back and forth about it, about like what episodes really spooked them. Then suddenly, Dan Aykroyd is all like, hey, you want to see something scary? It's like, yeah, whatever. Yeah. It's like, no, really. You want to see something scary? The dude's like, oh, all right. It's like, okay. don't look. And he goes like this. It goes like this. Just like goes off to the side and hides like this. And he's there for like 30 seconds. And the dude's like, yeah. And then suddenly Dan Aykroyd turns around. He's this fucking like witch demon. And like, is like, and like jump scares the shit.
He's this witch demon.
Because honestly, now that I've gotten younger, and I wish now that I've gotten older, and I can watch it without shitting my pants, and like in a better quality, high def. I'm like, okay, he looks like a witch demon. And then there's even like, and now that I can hear it, they even make these stupid like cat sounds, like like a cheetah or some shit like that, or a lion or some shit. And then the Twilight Zone theme kicks in. I still even
It literally has like generic tiger sounds.
It really does. Did you watch it?
I just watched it.
But I'm not even joking with you. That to this moment, it's still the scariest thing I've seen in my life. It's still like, and I don't think it would scare me today, don't get me wrong, but watching it even today, I get those like tinges, like almost like a primordial like ooze or something, where it's like, no. Something deep inside and old is telling me that this is scary, So yeah, that is by far the scariest thing I've ever seen. Also, the fucking Tales from the Crypt theme used to scare the shit out of me, which is funny because both of the things I just mentioned are both kind of funny today. So I'm like, I was just easily spooked child, I guess. I don't know. Do you have a Twilight Zone moment?
I don't know. I can't think of like an episode of Twilight Zone that really scared me, but like I've definitely had other things that scared me over the years, and it's usually just like creatures that are so supernaturally powerful and do spooky shit to do spooky shit, like skinwalkers, right? Like if you say the word Wendigo 3 times, one comes out of the woods and gets you or something. And I live deep in the woods of Pennsylvania, so you better believe we got them. Like if they exist, we got them. But yeah, it's usually stuff like that, or like what's it called? Encounters of some fourth kind.
Close Encounters of the Third Kind, the one with the aliens.
Yes. The one with the grays, like it's terrifying. Just the idea that aliens would visit us at all is terrifying, because like they'd have to be more advanced than us and give a shit about us and not want to kill us, and that's a lot. Like you really got to have all the chips in place, all the stars got to be aligned for that to be true,
Oh man, there's some that same ex. Well, mind you, all these girlfriends are exes. The same girlfriend I was with, who like I used to kidnap my nieces and nephews to go trick or treating with. She used to be so deathly afraid of the Bart's Dead creepypasta, or Bart, whatever the fuck that is. Like weirdly, scarily afraid of it all the time. I'll never forget one time, she woke me up in the middle of the night because she had a nightmare because of it, and I'm like, it's a fucking creepypasta, just like. But that kind of sticks to me too, because I do remember reading it and thinking it was somewhat creepy, even though like I'm pretty like, mind you, this is before all the creepy read-alongs you could find like on YouTube or whatever. Like she literally showed me a text version that I think had that one picture of him with his either his eyes X'd out or whatever. That was the one,
Hey, text versions can be way scarier. They leave way more up to your imagination,
But I was just like, what the fuck? I remember, like, yeah, for those who don't know, there is creepypasta where like there's an episode where Bart dies, and yeah, and it's like this Lost Simpsons episode that people have asked Matt Groening about and so on. And I'm pretty sure, like I said, like I'm positive there's a million YouTube deep dives about it and what its origins were. But other than that, I'm trying to think of other like really scary shit. I remember there was one time when I was watching the movie Suspiria, the original Dario Argento one, which is funny because, oh, hey Les, which is funny because I don't like the original that much. There's a new remake that's on Amazon that's really great, Prime Video, I should say. But in the original, there's some music part that's, I remember, scared the shit out of me. I was watching it home alone, and like the Goblin. By the way, there's a band called Goblin does the music. The Goblin soundtrack, I guess, like just like was like, whoa, what the fuck? It's like I think there's fucking things in the house, and I turned every light on, and so on. Once I remember my brother, who used to be like kind of delinquent when he was younger, was in like in and out of boot camp and juvenile hall and whatever, like shit like that. and he had a parole officer because he's on house arrest. I don't know what you would call him, that kind of thing. And the dude was calling to look for him, but like my parents had gone to court with him or something like that, so I was home alone, and I was watching like Psycho, which I think was then new, the remake of Psycho, at home. And like this dude calls, like the parole officer person. And I answer the phone and I tell him, "Oh no, he's gone. They went to court today, I think." And the dude is like, "What are you watching?" Because you can hear it in the background. And I'm like, "Oh, I'm watching Psycho." And he's all like, "Where are your parents?" Like, I told you they're at court. And
Where are your parents?
I was young. And this is like a corrections officer. This is like he probably like, "I'm gonna call Child Protection Services right after this call." I don't know if anything followed up with that. If like he probably told my mom something about it later, because like I said, they technically have one. So like this dude knew my mom, my dad and whatever. So probably would have told him like, "Why the fuck was your other child home alone watching Psycho?" As one does. I don't know.
Hey, Warren.
Warren. Oh, hey, what's up? Tell us some of your favorite scary movies.
You like scary movies?
But yeah, beyond that, do you have any other favorite scary movies? It doesn't have to be one that actually spooked you. We should make like a small little Halloween playlist.
If I had to pick one that like I really genuinely enjoyed the whole way through, it was the first Conjuring movie.
Really?
Specifically, well, I love that whole like universe that they've kind of built. I just think it's entertaining. I don't think it's like high quality. I just like it. I enjoy it the same way I enjoy like Marvel universe movies, right? Like I enjoy them. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that they're deep or brooding, But I really like the first Conjuring movie because they kept the like monster or demon or whatever invisible for so long, and there was just so much left up to the imagination, and that made it really fun.
Huh. That's an interesting one. There's some Conjuring universe movies I think are okay. It annoys me that thank God, I think it's kind of slowed down recently. But there's so many movies like The Nun, the I'm going to mispronounce this, the La Llorona movie.
La Llorona?
Yeah.
Manuel, how could you?
Annabelle.
I'm once again revoking your Mexican card.
All those movies where it's like, oh, they're in the Conjuring universe. I'm like, but why? They don't have to be.
Just so that you know that there's a hypothetical situation where they cross over.
Aren't the Ouija board movies in the Conjuring universe too? Am I making that up?
Sure, why not?
No, I don't believe so. I believe
I'm putting them in there right now.
I believe it has to be at least tenuously connected to those two investigators.
But yeah, the fucking, what are they? Something the Warnoses?
The ones who did the Amityville house.
Yeah. Anyways, I'm not a huge fan of those movies. But then again, I guess I liked Annabelle. I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, moving back into that, I think I'm a huge fan. I used to be a huge fan of the Saw movies, which is funny because I don't think I like them. Like in a similar, they're not great, and they do have like, there's not a universe. It just has just a billion sequels.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. I used to around part 5, I think, or maybe it was part 4. It doesn't matter. That's how confusing they are. Who the fuck really cares? It started to get kind of stupid, but I was a huge fan of like those twist endings. Like the M. Night Shyamalan twist at the end, but like the Saw version, where it's like, oh, it turns out that dude was actually like Jigsaw's helper or something, or it turns out that if you had waited, you could have rescued the son and not gotten trapped yourself or whatever. But
very Black Mirror style, like pre-Black Mirror, Black Mirror.
I don't know. I like those movies, and also I did see a bunch of them in theaters, which is probably why I have some nostalgic memories to some of them. There's not that many I've seen in theaters. Like I don't like the theater experience, especially for horror movies. Like I don't know. Even though those are probably almost all I've exclusively seen. JD, do you have any favorite horror movies?
Yeah, I always say Alien's my favorite.
Oh, sorry, I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing because Warren said I thought I was going to ask him to be on. He thought that I was going to ask him to be on. If you're still there, Warren, the only reason I didn't ask you to be on because I know that Leslie's there with you. So I thought, and I think she just got there, so I thought it'd be weird to ask either of you. So I didn't ask either of you. Anyways, Alien.
Yeah, and like I told you before we started, I've been watching like a horror movie a day so far, which
Oh, are you
just only
doing
went
that
through.
too? I
Well,
saw
I'm
that
trying
Rose is
to.
doing
I
that.
don't always have the time.
Yeah, A to J member Rose is doing it, and like I wish I would have noticed it earlier. If I watch 4 movies tonight to catch up, does that count?
Sure.
Wait, can I even physically do that? I don't think I can.
No, not unless you pick like very short movies.
Exactly.
So far, I've
Does it
watched
count?
last year's Candyman,
Wait, that came
House
out already?
or House. Yeah, that came out last year, Manuel.
Fuck! I've been waiting for
Oh,
Good news.
yeah.
Good news.
Great news, even.
I I watched House on Sunday, and then last night I watched Prey.
Oh, Prey's the new Predator, right?
Yeah, the Predator prequel, and I watched it in Comanche.
Wait, I actually wondered about that. It's funny you bring that up. So it is in not English.
Yes.
Okay, because I was just wondering, I'm like, is this gonna be a weird movie where they're speak? I mean, I assume there's also a dub track, but like, is this gonna be a movie where they don't speak, where they speak English?
I believe they recorded it in English and recorded it in
Oh, they
Comanche.
recorded both.
Yeah, and
Oh,
then
that's
like if you watch in
weird.
Comanche, there's like I think one line of English, which is when one of the French guys curses in English.
There's a dog in Prey,
Yes,
but yeah, I need to watch Prey. I think it's on Hulu.
yes,
Yeah,
it is.
and, Hulu's one of the few services I don't leech off of someone that's a paid service, I should say.
Yeah, well,
more
yeah.
accurately.
The French was subtitled, but it's like people speaking in English was what I meant.
This is mildly random, but it was
Yeah.
only about a couple years ago that I learned that hors d'oeuvres is spelled
Yeah.
the way it is. I used to always read that word, not knowing that that's what that word was. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
I'm like, what are hors d'oeuvres? You know?
yeah. I don't blame you. It took me a while too.
And it wasn't until I saw somebody else read it, like, or I saw I think it was a subtitle that I saw it like matched to someone saying it. I'm like, oh, that's the word. And it's funny because like I should Google it because I'm sure like I'll find it. But I could have sworn I've also seen hors d'oeuvres like spelled like hors d'oeuvres, like with a B at the end and other like a stupid spelling like that, like in books, like in fiction, but still, you
Mhm.
know.
I say, and then another one I watched a couple years ago that I liked was In the Tall Grass is one I liked. It's the one that's based on the Stephen King, and I think it was one of his sons co-wrote like a short story, and then they got directed. And then
Joe Hill.
Yeah, I can't remember if it was Joe or his other son.
He has another son. Oh, anyways.
I think he has like another son named Owen.
Oh, I didn't know that. Anyway.
Yeah, and then Oculus as well, the one with Karen Gillan, and I don't remember who plays her brother, but they're dealing with like a cursed mirror. And it's just really like trippy too, like just as like reality gets played with. Also, I just like Karen Gillan.
There is a helicopter outside, like it's been hovering outside for the past 10 minutes. And part of me wonders if there's like a fugitive running through everyone's lawns right now. If I should be worried.
Was Karen Gillan also in As Above, So Below, or am I thinking of a different actress?
I don't know. I haven't seen that one. I will look it up.
Highly recommend, by the way. About some horror advent. Well, I wouldn't say horror necessarily, but some spooky adventures in France.
Well, it just dawned on me that I accidentally, I guess I've been doing that only because I've been watching a lot of movies on Tubi. But mainly as backgrounds. The only one I actually I watched It again, as in the TV movie It, or TV mini, or double movie, whatever you call it. That was interesting, only because it's stupid. And whenever I watched that movie, even as a kid, I never found it scary. And it always blew my mind that so many people point to that as like the start of their clown phobia, whatever that actual word is. I'm like, really? Of all things, it's the Tim Curry. Yeah, it's just like, nah, man, fuck the clowns. As in, like, literally, fuck the clowns. Like, it's like, what the hell? Like, why are they scary? I don't get it.
Oh yeah, Manuel. The fear of clowns is coulrophobia.
Phobia. Let's all be scared of clowns. But like, I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of either of the It things, but the new one's a little better when it comes to the spooks. It also has some really stupid moments, like when he's doing that dance, the jig.
Mm-hmm.
I also watch.
I don't know, dude. Some people might find that terrifying.
What, the jig?
Yeah.
I laughed my ass off. I saw that in
I did
theaters
too,
by
but
the way.
I can appreciate that some people are probably gonna have nightmares about it.
Oh yeah, and how? No, Karen Gillan was not in As Above, So Below. That was Perdita Weeks.
Oh,
My
okay.
life is a joke. I'm a clown. I saw a meme today where somebody's all like, somebody posts is like, "Oh, how much is the full-time clown making?" It's like 51,000 a year, some shit like that. It's like, what? I've been doing this for free, and then being a clown. But yeah, Leslie, stop being a clown for free.
Leslie used to think her
fucking
life was a tragedy, and then she realized it's a comedy.
But yeah, I also watched both of the Chainsaw Massacres, the Michael Bay ones, the remake and the beginning. Those are really, really good. I've always said that the first one, the one that had Jessica Biel in it, that one is, I definitely won't say it's better than the original, but it is the only remake I think ever of all time of a horror movie remake that is definitely an excellent movie in its own right. Like, honestly, I almost wonder if I definitely probably would watch that one over the original, but the original is still amazing. It just, the two different movies. But yeah, the if you've never seen it, it's great. Arlie Ermy, is that, I always confuse how to say his name. He's he plays the sheriff and he's fucking like badass in that. And in the beginning, it's a prequel, and it always pisses me off they made a prequel and not a sequel, because if you watch the, spoiler alert, if you watch the remake, that it's a 20-year-old movie, if you watch the Michael Bay Chainsaw Massacre, it ends with Leatherface cutting off his arm on accident or whatever, but it's clearly going to imply that if there was a sequel, he'd be fucking like Ash from Army of Darkness or Evil Dead 2. We had the chainsaw arm, and I'm like, that's a sequel we never got. I would have loved to have seen that. I don't know. Those are some good movies. Also, I've watched Return of the Living Dead like every night for the past few weeks. That's a great movie. Everyone should go watch that. It's all these movies are on Tubi, by the way.
Once again,
Tubi,
this
please sponsor us.
What were your thoughts and or feelings about the Paranormal Activity series? I know that one can be very divisive in the horror / scary community.
I have a love-hate relationship with it.
Go on.
Okay. I think the first movie is trash.
Okay.
Okay, let me rephrase it. Let me actually back up. I think the first movie is pretty boring. And it's funny because that's the one that was made as a super low budget movie with no studio backing. So I honestly think that has something to do with it. It's the much slower of all the movies. Everything else clearly is like, no, we gotta keep it a bit more spicier, like move it along. But that one's a lot slower. There's a scene that apparently people got freaked out by that literally makes me laugh when they're using the Ouija board, and then suddenly it starts like coming to life when they leave it alone and catches on fire.
Mm-hmm.
That shit's hilarious. And it makes no fucking, it's like, it's not scary. I'd be like, what the fuck? I'm returning this shit, getting my money back. Also, I did a whole detail on Ouija boards, and I could rant about Ouija boards forever. They are bullshit. They are bullshit. They are board games. There is no ancient magic behind it. Some dude in the 18 somethings thought it was a funny thing to market, like made up words, and everything else you've heard otherwise is literally just them writing backwards. But yeah, I like the sequels better. I think part 4, there's one, I don't know if you've seen all of them. There's one where they're like in LA, I think, or maybe it's like just like in the ghetto somewhere. And I say this like I was about to say, like, oh, the Mexican one. I don't mean that specifically, but there are like, first of all, I'm Mexican and I grew up in the ghetto. I can still make these assumptions, but it's still like, it's the Mexican one. It's also that's one of my favorite ones. I think it's a spin-off one. It's called The Chosen Ones, if I'm not mistaken. It's when they stop numbering them. I like
the marked
one.
ones.
The marked ones. There you go.
And it takes place in Oxnard.
Oh, see, close enough. Mexico. I said Mexico.
Yeah.
I meant
Oxford, Mexico. They're like this, man. You know.
Well, they are. If you've ever been to Oxnard, it's like the Mexico of like Southern California. I'm actually not even joking. It sounds like I'm
Elaborate on that. What do you mean?
A lot of my people.
Don't elaborate. We don't want to get canceled twice.
What do you think about the movies?
Paranormal Activity is just like fine. I mean, it's like eating popcorn over some kind of fancy dessert, right? Just there to snack on and enjoy. But it's a lot of empty calories. So
apparently, yeah, a lot of. Sorry, reading Warren's comment.
Yeah, so am I.
A lot of those movies are just like. I can't imagine. It's funny because I say I can't imagine watching in theaters. I watched the first one in theaters. Those came out every year, and it's funny because I don't know if you remember this. If you were around, I was there, Gandalf. But if you were around for this, but Saw was coming out every year for a while, and so was Paranormal Activity for a while, and then it was like a Saw versus Paranormal Activity like face off basically for like 2 years, and then obviously Saw dropped off first, but they would get some of the Saw actors like in interviews, like, "Oh, what do you think it is going up against Paranormal Activity?" And it was just funny hearing like these actors be all like, "Sorry, our movie cost more than $10,000 to make." You know, they were just being very snarky back and forth about it. And but yeah, I can't imagine. Once again, I can't imagine going to theaters for these. It's not that good. It's funny because like, what are their names? The people that make the mockbusters. What the fuck is their name? The studio.
Oh, The Asylum?
Yeah, The Asylum. It's funny because The Asylum have this other. I can't remember what they call it something very similar because like Paranormal Activity is a very generic title as it is, So they have their own spin-off bootleg series. And honestly, there are times when I could probably mix one of those in, and you wouldn't know the difference. Like the acting quality takes the dip, but it's like it looks the same. The same fake shit's happening. The lore in those movies is so stupid though. I don't know if you actually cared enough to watch all the Paranormal Activities and follow the lore about that when they were like their mother or their grandmother or somebody like cursed them to like give birth to a demon baby, and like, it's basically some Damien nonsense, and there's always a cult at the end of like the later ones that keeps showing up. And
Manuel, the name of their Paranormal Activity knockoff was Paranormal Entity.
There you go. We should do it too. I'll bring a camera next time and we'll film one. And I think the Paranormal Entity ones had boobs. I think the one that I talked about, the marked ones or whatever, that one has this random scene of boobs too. So maybe they felt the heat. Like we gotta have some nudity in our series. I don't know. What's a horror movie without boobs? You need the shower scene so then the killer gets you. Or the sex scene, I meant to say. I guess shower scene works too. Anyway, what's some other movies, Hal?
Yeah, Manuel, I've seen Scream. I know how these works. Don't worry.
What? I'm trying to think of ones that like are not unpopular, but maybe kind of went under the radar for a lot of people. One that I really enjoyed a lot was His House.
His House?
Yeah, I don't know if anyone here has heard of it, but it's about a family who has been displaced due to war in their home country, and they end up somewhere vaguely in like the UK-ish, and they kind of have to acclimate to culture, and some spooky stuff goes on while they're there.
Oh shit, I'm looking at this. Oh, this looks cool. I never heard of this.
Super rad. Highly recommend. Very, very like, I don't know, like that realistic kind of spooky, It's also really cool because you see a lot of like cultural stuff that you don't really get to see in a lot of movies. So, like, since it's so new to you, it can be, I don't know, extra spooky because it's the unknown,
Oh, look at Warren and Leslie being cool. I'm going to go log into his Netflix and watch it later. There is a Paranormal Activity that's in Tokyo. That's like, I think it's their part. Don't take a shot. Who made you take a shot? It's Tuesday.
Warren.
I'll take 2 on Friday.
I owe you a shot.
Don't
God, what is that? We owe 2 shots now? Just right at the start of stream? Just
the immigrant struggle, the racism. This is ridiculous. Don't stop doing that. Anyway, but no, there's a lot of horror. It's funny because I've mentioned this many a time, and I mentioned this before we went live, and I was talking to JD about some movies.
You made it 3, Manuel.
Huh?
You made it 3.
Why did it? Anyway, I gotta remember to turn those off after like the weekend. Then I always forget to turn them back on. Anyway,
you just made it 4.
Why? Oh my god!
Well, thank goodness I'm not on DTR.
I'm not counting these after. Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm done screenshotting it. Anyway, what the fuck was I saying? Oh yeah, I used to be really big into horror movies. I've seen countless. There was a time when young Manuel did nothing but watch and collect horror movies. So I have quite a vast, I don't want to say knowledge, but I've seen a ton. I remember but then again, there was a point when I realized I was really into gore. Are you into gore movies? How are you more into spooks?
I'm definitely not into gore above other stuff. I don't know. I'm also not really a sucker for jump scares. Jump scares kind of bore me after a while. Like a good one can get me if it's hidden in there, but I'm more on the side of unraveling a mystery and it's really spooky because it's paranormal kind of thing,
Come on, though. Don't tell me that Twilight Zone, the movie jump scare, wasn't a good one. Dan Aykroyd. It's fucking Dan Aykroyd. Nah, I'm a witch demon.
All I can imagine is some poor intern sitting in a room being like, I don't know what sound to ascribe to Dan Aykroyd looking like a witch man. I don't know. Google the scariest animal. I don't know. Tiger. Put it in. They had infinite money. If they had Dan Aykroyd, they clearly had money.
Oh man, not to keep bringing the Twilight Zone movie, but and as a kid, I didn't really know who Dan Aykroyd was. It wasn't until I started talking about this in my more adult years that I went back and actually watched it. Because for the longest time, it was just this weird memory I had as a child. And then and it's even kind of for reasons, once again, about John Landis reasons, that movie has always had a shaky release history. I'm actually surprised it's on Tubi. And I remember when I got a little older, I rented it again, in the early 2000s, and I'm like, oh, that's fucking Dan Aykroyd. Who was that scene? How crazy is that? And then keep watching if you watch the movie to the end, because Dan Aykroyd comes back. That's I won't spoil that further, but Dan Aykroyd comes back at the end. So what I said it was a wraparound, it literally wraps around. Anyway, what's some other spooky things? Are you watching any horror movies for Halloween? Do you have a horror movie plan out?
There's one I've had on my backlog that I've always wanted to watch, and I got some friends to finally agree to watch it. It's called Antrim. It involves some siblings in a weird situation trying to navigate, a horror, spooky happenings around them.
Antrim.
Mm-hmm. It's one of those sort of meta movies where it I can't tell if it knows that it's a movie or not. Do you know what I mean? I can't tell if it's trying to break the fourth wall. It's one of those movies where it's
I've heard of this movie
in theaters and 40 people fucking died. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I remember this movie. And oh shit! Can you watch this? What does one watch this movie?
It is not on any of the streaming services I currently have.
Did you bootleg it? Is Hao running torrents?
No, I would never do that.
I would never run the torrents.
To be clear,
no,
I would pay for it if they made it easy to pay for.
Yeah, it's funny because I was actually thinking about this. This movie made the rounds. A fun fact, I don't think we were live when I mentioned how I was going to go see May Leitz and Nick Spheres in LA today, but I just chose not to. But she did a video where she mentioned this movie, and I was like, oh, where do you watch it? And I even Googled it. I'm like, oh, you can't. At the time, you couldn't get it anywhere. I think it was just doing the festival rounds at that period. And I'm like, and it doesn't look like it's any easier to get now. Yeah, what the fuck? Do they want this movie not to be seen? You know what's funny? Have you ever heard of the movie Begotten? Begotten? Is that what it's called? Let me Google this real fast.
Which one?
Begotten. It's black and white, and it's it's supposedly considered one of the most disturbing movies ever. Begotten.
1989.
Yes,
Edmund
this is it.
Elias Marriage.
Yes. If you've ever seen a lot of spooky creepypasta, creepy readings, watch Google Begotten movie and then go to the images, and you'll recognize these images. If you ever listen to any creepy shit, because a lot of times they'll use these images because they look creepy. This.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this is kind of wild looking.
This is usually listed as the most disturbing movie you'll ever see, and I am not joking with you when I tell you that it looks and feels. If you watch it, first of all, it's in black and white. It's like as if somebody pissed and shit on the film. It's not an old movie. but it looks like shit, like purposely, and it barely has any sound. And it looks and feels like some art student's like thesis. Like it has art student written all over it. Fun fact, I actually briefly went to film school, did not graduate, but I went to film school when I was younger. And there were people, these were people's projects. Like, yes, I'm doing a movie that's meant to, it's juxtaposition of real life versus what we're doing to the earth. And this person represents Mother Nature. I think it's actually the plot. I'm actually not even making that up. I was making that up in my head. I'm like, I think it's actually the plot to be gotten. Because like one of them's like, and then they give birth to God, and I'm like, oh my God, like come on, like get your head out your ass. Like, get your head out of your ass. This movie's not that deep. You could literally watch this movie in like 4 times speed and still get everything it has to do and still be kind of creeped out, but not waste your time. But I just want to mention, don't watch Begotten. And whenever like you'll see a YouTuber like, hey, you got any creepy movies to recommend for on this time? Like, you know, any like those movie watching YouTubers or whatever. A lot of people will put this in there, and I'm like, bro, don't waste their time with this. Like, just look at the pictures, and you'll see the most of it. There's also have you ever seen the one where like the old lady's eating that person's head or whatever? That's from like the taking the Deborah Logan. It's a found footage movie. I don't think all these random movies. Sorry. What else is spooky? You ever like play any horror games? You ever a Five Nights at Freddy jump scare guy?
I mean, the scariest game I've ever like seen played was PT, like 1000%. But I think it was just like a combination of like quality plus like, you know, just being like a demo. So like it also was just unfinished, but I don't know. I can't think of any like games where I was like too scared to play, you know?
You weren't young enough to have played Resident Evil and actually been freaked out by the dogs the first time around?
No. The Resident Evil that was relevant when I was young was Resident Evil 4. And I wouldn't say that was so much spooky as just like, you know, scary in the way of like there's like 30 guys with chainsaws running after me right now. Like
it's funny because like whoever the hell decided that changing Biohazard to Resident Evil probably regretted it after the first game, because the title never made sense after that first game. And nobody's ever questioned it. Like why that title, like why is Resident Evil 4, like why is it called that? They're in like, you know, some place and it's not even like,
because it's a sequel to Resident Evil.
But why did they change it from Bio? Well, I know
because Biohazard was like trademark issues in the United States, and so they had to name it something else, and they held like a contest in Resident Evil 1.
Oh, I didn't know they held a contest.
I believe there was like a contest, or I don't know if they had like picked out a bunch of names, but I believe it was like some kind of contest to name it. I could be wrong. Very likely wrong. You there? Or am I the one without internet now? Yeah, okay. Can you hear me at least? Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys froze up.
Yeah.
Oh.
The stream froze for a second, but it looks like everything's back.
Oh. God damn it, JD. I'm the one who has like a fucking criminal running through my backyard, and you're the one whose internet's like dying. Oh, he's gone.
I'm here.
We're
still live.
God, you're scaring me, JD.
Once again, this is how I know I'm now a fixture here. Manuel cannot remember my name. It's 2 letters, and he cannot remember my name.
Yeah, I am. It's funny because whatever he uses, he can leave, and we still keep going. that fucking site. Anyway. So yeah, you don't really have any horror, like, you know, you're not a survival horror fan or anything. I don't know. I just eat up horror. You don't read horror novels. You're not a Stephen King fan.
Not really. I mean, I'm not really into reading that much, and when I do read, I mostly read like the same young adult fiction authors I've read since high school. So like,
you didn't read R.L. Stein?
I guess if that counts. Like, need I remind you that I've read all of Animorphs?
Yeah.
biggest horror series to ever exist, where they eviscerate children regularly.
Wait, did they really? I don't remember you mentioning that.
To save you infinite time, there's a device that lets them transform into animals. When they transform to animals and transform back, everything is healed. So like that's the book's excuse to like eviscerate these children asunder and then like let them demorph and then be fine.
That's terrible.
It's terrifying.
It's funny because like when I was younger, I once again, like I said, I still absorb all horror media. I fucking loved R.L. Stine. I still think some of his books can be like, especially the Fear Street ones. I think some of those are well written, at least for what they are. They're very pulpy. It's the equivalent of like reading a slasher movie. If that makes any sense. Like, you know, you'll enjoy it and it's there and it might entertain you. You know, might get you feeling an emotion or two, namely fear. But like, but that's pretty much it. It's like it's not gonna like win any awards. But when I was really young, I was the perfect age for the Goosebumps series, and I remember like I was this annoying brat. I used to read the last chapter just so I can get like the twist, because I don't think that anyone really realizes this as much as like, you know, anything. Every Goosebumps book would have a twist ending at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Like usually it's like, oh, it turns out we're aliens, and that, you know, the kid the alien you think we're chasing. No. That's a human. We're the aliens. Or like that one where you think there's monsters on this thing, but it turns out that like they're aliens and they're like training to go to Earth to, I guess, like take it over or some bullshit. And like, oh, it's like, you know, it's like, oh no, that guy was a monster, so we got to take care of him. We're monsters too. It was always shit like that. So I would always read the last chapter to get that. So I wouldn't have to like sit there reading the other 150 pages. Like, you know, like, how is this gonna end? Like guessing the endings. I already knew it. And
It's like that.
And I'm like, okay, huh?
Actually, like some episodes of the Twilight Zone. I know there's one where you think it's a woman with like aliens invading her house, but it's actually an alien with humans invading her house, and they're just really tiny compared to her. I can't remember what the name of the episode's called.
Oh, Twilight Zone?
Yeah.
I can go on about Twilight. Do you ever watch Twilight Zone, Hal?
Yeah. I think my favorite one's I don't remember the title. The one where it's the classic, comes out of the giant explosion and is like, now I have infinite time to read all my books.
Oh, Time Enough at Last.
Okay, that's a classic episode. Fun fact, that's the one I think they mentioned in the live action movie. And if you watch, I keep going back to the live action movie. If you watch the live action movie, the dude who does the narration, because Rod Serling had long passed away by the time that movie came out, being the host. But in that movie, it's Burgess Meredith, Penguin, the fucking you're a bum, Rocky. What the fuck's his name? Mickey.
Yeah.
And also that dude, the glasses dude from that one. Dude, that was fucked up. That episode, like, I remember I watched it. Fun fact, I watched it with that girlfriend, the one that like I tripped at Hao-lloween. We watched it at one point, and I remember like it was the first time I think I had watched, like, because I had some recorded on VHS or some bullshit like that back then. And actually, would I already have it on DVD? It doesn't matter. I had them on. I had bought a collection somehow, and we were watching the episodes for the first time. Like, oh, we get to watch it uninterrupted, no commercials, and not just randomly on TV. And I saw the episode, and like, do you remember how that episode begins? Because like he has his wife that won't let him read anything.
Yeah.
And that was some fucked up shit. There was a scene. Fuck the horror. That lady was evil. There was a scene where he would hide books everywhere, and she would like destroy them or whatever. There was a scene where when she left, and he went to go like move the couch cushion to find like a book of poetry or something like that. I think it was a book of poetry specifically, and he couldn't find it. And then his wife walks in, and she's like, "Are you looking for this?" It's like, "It's fine. You don't have to hide anything from me. Here, read me something." And she hands him the book, and he's like, "Oh, you're gonna love it. Thank you so much. Here, you'll love this one." And he opens it, and she had blacked out every page or ripped it up or some bullshit like that.
Actually, it might have been that. I know the book he's reading at the start of it is David Copperfield, though.
Was that what? Oh,
because he goes up to like everyone who speaks to him. He's like, "Have you read David Copperfield?"
But it was some fuck shit that he was so excited that she wanted her. She was okay with him reading. He was going to read her this part that he loves or whatever the fuck it was, and she had destroyed the book. And he's like flipping through it. And he's like, why would you do this? And he just sounds so defeated. And I'm like, bro, she's a fucking bitch. Divorce her now. Divorce her this second and leave. Go home. Go read all you want, bro. So it always annoyed me because like that ending seems so fucked up. It's like I'd get it if he was like, and I know this isn't a reason to punish you, but I get it if you were like reading all the time at work and like somebody died because you weren't paying attention. And he was in his comeuppance. Bro did nothing wrong.
I mean, he did try and read at work, but does not deserve what he got being in a nuclear blast
He
and
did
then
nothing
losing his
wrong
classes
and then gets
to read.
destroyed. Also, part of me was like, can he just like find an optometrist or some shit?
Probably,
again, wouldn't their glasses be destroyed? I don't know. I don't know how atomic blasts work.
Plus, you might be able to get out of the blast zone and find civilization still there.
The original horror at 10,000 feet or whatever, the original like Gremlin on a plane one's really creepy if you ever watch that one again.
And it has William Shatner.
Yeah, it has William Shatner. It's funny because the movie version has John Lithgow. And there was a point when John Lithgow was in Third Rock from the Sun, the movie, the TV series where he's an alien, and William Shatner shows up, and they both talk about like being on a plane like that. They're like, "That happened to you too," and it's like, yeah, reference that they were both the Gremlin people.
Yeah, actually, and Shatner was in another one. I think it's like Penny for Your Thoughts.
Yeah, it's funny because this is a pre Star Trek Shatner is in some shit. Burgess Meredith is in some ones. I forget who else.
Well, what's his name? Leonard Nimoy's in one. I think it's like A Quality of Mercy or something like that.
And there's one that always creeped me out where like there's this old man who like lives on this mountain, and some dude like ends up there because he gets lost, and the dude's like, no matter what, like you can spend the night here, but like whatever you do, don't go into this room and don't let this dude out. And the dude's like the guy who's there is just sleeping, and here's like this dude crying like, let me out, he's keeping me here, he's blah blah blah. And the dude goes over there, he's like, who are you? It's like, oh, the old man kidnapped me, let me out. So the guy lets him out, and it turns out that the guy he let out was the devil. And like and the old man was keeping him like locked up or whatever, like I don't know, his name, some sort of devil keeper or whatever. And basically the episode ends where like I guess when he let the devil out, the devil caused World War II. And the dude found, mind you, this is timely for when the show came out, and the dude finally caught up with him and captured him again, the devil. And he's in a hotel, and he's like, okay, he's telling like the housekeepers, like, do not let him out. I'm gonna go get the old man in the mountain, and I'm gonna give him back. Do not let him out. And as soon as he leaves, the dude starts talking to the housekeeper, and she's clearly gonna let him out. But yeah, there's a really good scene in that where like the dude's walking and he becomes the devil. So yeah, that's why I like that one.
Oh, and George Takei was in one. I think it's like The Sword or something. Though that one I don't think it's shown anymore because it's kind of racist with the dealing with like Japanese in America around World War II.
Oh, I mean, you get a lot of annoyingly casual racism and shit back then. Look at old comic books. You can get some of that. Fun fact, Wesley in the chat's all like, oh, R.L. Stein's not gonna, whatever with you. If you tweet at him, like things, he'll often reply to you. Like the first time he did it to me, I thought it was like, it was so special, which I guess it still is. But like, he seems to like randomly choose to reply to people, like, or retweet things. It's crazy. It's like, oh look, R.L. Stein noticed me today. I tweeted at him a couple of years ago about like, because he wrote I think he's only written this one as far as I can recall. He wrote this book called The Sitter, which is so hard to find because it's such a basic title as R.L. Stein wrote like 1,000 books, like literally. But it was his attempt to write like an adult novel, and basically it was Fear Street but with sex. Like that's pretty much all that separated it. It was like because people would die and it was like a slasher.
One thing Fear Street was missing
was sex.
Full penetration.
Yes, basically it was that, but like, oh, she had the main girl had sex, and I tweeted about it. I'm like, oh look, here's that book, The Sitter. Like, why doesn't R.L. Stein wrote more adult things? And he replied to it. He's like, oh, that was a good book. Like, where'd you find it? I'm like, I've had this forever, like in my house, like on my bookshelf. That's where I found it. But yeah, I don't know. There's actually there's actually a Goosebumps musical that I keep like trying to like talk about every time I can, because the musical finally recorded. They recorded it a long time ago, but they finally have a bunch of official goods because like the pandemic's over, and not the pandemic's over. I shouldn't say that. The pandemic's winding down a little, whether you want it to or not, and they've been doing more productions of the show. So if you go to the Goosebumps the musical site, which is for the Phantom of the Auditorium, I mean to say, they specifically took one book and adapted that. You can get a bunch of free shit if you just pay for the shipping, like stickers and magnets and pins and shit like that, like literally free. It's funny because when I went, the site was broken and it would just give you free shit even if you didn't pay for the shipping. So I got all this free shit just sent to my house. Oops. Thank you for that.
Oh yeah, Manuel, the episode you're talking about is The Howling Man. Season 2, episode 5.
But yeah, there's so many classic Twilight Zone episodes. Is the Beauty is the Eye of the Beholder? You ever seen that one, Hal?
Isn't it called like Real Beauty or something?
Eye of the Beholder.
It's the one where she's all it's either
she gets some kind of face-based surgery, kind of.
Yeah. And then spoiler alert, I guess, for this 50-year-old episode, 60-year-old episode.
Everyone's like, I don't want to say
pig monster.
Yeah, and she looks like a normal human.
Noses. And it's funny because I don't know if you remember, like, I feel like that's worth more exploring. Not so much how everyone looks, but this weird dystopian society that's based on beauty. Because that's the whole plot. That's the reason why she has to get her like face rearranged. Because like if she doesn't look like them, they send them to like a camp where she's with other people like that. And when she's running through the hospital, there's a scene where they show like some like news segment, and there's like this very dictator-y looking guy, like, you know, in front of a big pulpit thing. I don't know if you remember that scene, but I was like, what the fuck is this society? Like, fuck the pig people. It's like, what is this?
Also, a fun fact. Eye of the Beholder is the next episode after The Howling Man.
Oh, I didn't know that. The funny thing is what could they have possibly done or not done to her that she looked like that at the end? If you would have cut her face a little, she would have had a scar. I know it's the fucking allegorical bullshit, but that makes no sense.
They had some really good doctors. I don't know.
That makes no sense. Like, fucking break her nose and push it up and get the tape and set it like, okay, don't actually do that. But like, I'm like,
cut off the weird Neanderthal head eyebrow thing.
Yeah, I'm like, the biggest thing was, I'm like, just cut her up a little and she'll. Okay, this sounds terrible in context. Cut her up a little and she'll have scars at the very least. It's like, what did you do?
There's one thing that Manuel needs in a horror movie or series. It's realistic violence towards women.
It's actually funny that you bring that up because like I watched a YouTube video about this recently. Mind you, it's an older video, but it still sticks out to me. It's by this YouTuber called Scaredy Cats. And they actually have this. It's funny because they have this like crazy leftist channel also called Thought Slime, but like they also have a horror one called Scaredy Cats. And in that one, and it kind of ties into why I mentioned the whole leftist thing, is they mention like the interesting thing of enjoying horror movies that have controversial elements. And I'm like, oh yeah, like people probably think, man, was this fucked up little person. Like every time I talk about Sleepaway Camp, I'm like, oh, but if you watch that movie today, does anyone know what Sleepaway Camp is?
Yes, I know the twist.
Yeah, no. Okay, you don't know the twist. I'll spoil it now because honestly, you should probably know this before you watch it if you've never seen it. Basically, this movie. It's basically a Friday the 13th type thing at a summer camp. Murders start happening, but it's all centered around this little girl, and you think that like, oh, the killer is somebody trying to protect the little girl. They have all these like, you know, red herrings about it. It turns out it's the little girl doing the killing, but Angela's not a little girl. She's actually a boy that her aunt who wanted a boy like dressed up as a little girl and just. So yeah, it has like a transgender killer, basically, long story short. And like there's all sorts of things wrong with it, but it's still a crazy good movie, I think. And it's just like, I don't know. It's like, yeah, how does one reconcile that? I guess it's like if you like Lovecraft, you also have to reconcile yourself with all the bullshit he did too. So
yeah.
What are you gonna do?
Okay, Manuel.
What are you gonna do?
Since it's about time to wrap up, I have just one last thing I want to say about the Twilight Zone,
What?
and just talk about one of my favorite episodes,
Oh,
which is like I think the third episode. Second episode is also one of my favorites. Walking Distance, which is just like a nostalgic one of how you can never go back to your childhood. But then the one after that, I believe, is One for the Angels, which is about like a salesman who's never got to do his like big pitch, and like we called it would be One for the Angels. And so when death comes for like the little girl who lives next to him that he greatly cares for as like a surrogate granddaughter, he basically just like distracts death with sales pitches and convinces him to take his soul instead. He says, "Yeah, you're going to heaven. Don't worry." I just really like that one.
I don't. It's funny you say that because I know the episode you're talking about, and like hearing it described like that makes me sound like a monster for saying the next thing I'm gonna say. But like whenever I describe that episode to someone, I'm like, you ever play The Sims and your sim dies, and you go up to the Grim Reaper and you try to convince them to bring him back to life? That's basically that episode, sort of. So yeah. It's a good episode though. No, another creepy one is that creepy one. Another like sad one is like with the old lady, where like that dude is like coming and it turns out she lets him in, and the nice young man who comes to go see her is death.
Yeah, that's Nothing in the Dark.
Yeah, there's a lot of episodes like that. God, the creeping hand of death is gonna get us all one day.
And Twilight Zone was really good.
It really was. Even to this day, when I first got whatever the CBS Peacock,
Paramount Plus.
It was on Peacock. Or it was Paramount Plus. It might have been Paramount Plus. It actually was Paramount Plus. When I got Paramount Plus, I watched a ton of Twilight Zone because that used to be on Netflix all the time. But what are you gonna do now? But there's still some episodes that freak me the fuck out, and there's still that theme still kind of freaks me out. Probably more because of the movie, I think, than the show. But that theme still scares the fuck out of me. Also, there's the episode where the dude stops time with a stopwatch. And then he breaks it, similar to like, and then like gets stuck there with the frozen time bullshit. I don't want to. It's just a thing more of Manuel's an asshole or whatever. I always call that one the GAV plot episode because that's a plot point in a lot of JAV movies. And if you don't know what JAV is, Google it. Google JAV stopwatch. Google JAV stopwatch and see what comes up. But yeah, I always call it the JAV plotline one because like. There was somebody who did an interview, some director dude, and they actually referenced a Twilight Zone episode. So somebody saw that. It's like, yeah, you know what? That'd be good for a porn. Anyway, send it there.
Yeah.
Hey everyone. Oh, speaking of that, if you want to hear more about JAV, we're doing a JAV panel at PMX in 2.5 weeks, or less than 2.5 weeks. Myself, Snacks, and Tiffany will be on that one. Fun fact: I asked Tiffany to be on this. She couldn't. I asked her super last minute. So I wish she was here and we could have I could have referenced that as well. But come to that, and we'll do another panels at PMX. Come into that. Don't come into that. It's funny because like we did a couple calls about this panel because it was one of the few new 100% new panels we're writing, and we had to like brainstorm it, and it's very collaborative. And one of Tiffany's fears is like there better not be people masturbating in the room, so please don't come to masturbate. Just come and like hear us talk about porn. JD, anything to plug or end here?
Me?
Panel, yes.
Yeah. If you're going to TwitchCon this weekend, check out the Prophecy Games booth.
Oh, you're going to TwitchCon? Isn't that around here?
It's in San Diego, yeah.
Yeah. It's funny because like I think I'm probably maybe I'll see you. We'll probably won't see each other, but like I'll try because I think I'm going technically for like I think on Saturday.
Yeah, I'll be there.
So yeah,
I'll be there all weekend. I might be working at the booth, so just hit me up and I'll let you know where I am.
Oh yeah, for sure. So yeah, come to PMX 2 weeks from now, the 21st, 23rd, San Gabriel Sheraton. We're doing 6 panels there. If you saw our recent DTL, Callie's doing the VTuber Tech one live. Me and Warren are doing the Metal one live. I said the JV one. We're doing an Idol 18 plus one. I'm doing an 80s pop one, and me and Rose are doing a body horror one. There you go. And Tiffany's doing a live there, so you're gonna see Tiffany live as well performing. How? Anything to plug? Are you your VTuber?
No, I'll just show up at PMX and just randomly sit at your tables and act like I'm supposed to be there.
I can't believe they got the group that did. I think we're alone now.
I think. Oh, Tiffany. I think we're alone now. Anyway, Peace out. Thank you all for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. The helicopter is still outside, so I'm gonna go see if I need to get a gun or something. I don't have a gun, but yes. Anyways, peace out. Love you all. Thank you. Good night. Peace.
Have a good night, guys.
Thank you, Hal, for being here.